Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, today we are diving into something absolutely wild, a truly astonishing piece of source material called The Second Body of Love, A Covenant Written in Light by Randall Logan Smith. Now, if you've ever felt like discussions about human relationships are either, way too coldly clinical or just vaguely sentimental and mushy, you are going to absolutely love this. Because Smith does something incredible here. He takes the rigorous, hard language of mathematics, physics, and even cryptography, and he uses it to map out the literal architecture of human devotion. It's this highly poetic yet deeply analytical framework that completely rethinks what it actually means to be someone's partner.
Right off the bat, the author hooks us with his premise. Love is not a dim endurance, but a luminous one. I really want you to hold on to that idea. Because, let's be honest, we so often think of long-term commitment as just surviving the years together, right? Just gritting our teeth through the hard parts. But Smith bridges the gap between cold equations and warm human connection, arguing that true companionship isn't just about hanging on for dear life. It's about creating a literal environment, a luminous medium, where both people can finally light up and operate at their absolute highest capacity.
So here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the Bright thesis, then look at the six braided strands, unpack the reverence theorem, explore the covenant shift, and wrap it all up with tending the medium. Let's get right into it.
Part 1, the Bright thesis.
This is where the text just completely shatters a universally accepted pop culture myth about relationships. And honestly, it changes everything about how we view our companions. We have all heard it a million times, right? You complete me. It's that old trope that you're just walking around as half a person, and your partner is that missing puzzle piece you've been desperately searching for. But Smith argues for a much brighter, much stranger truth. In this new view, the companion is the medium itself. You are not a broken half. You're a fully formed person. But, kind of like a wave of light, you travel farthest and most beautifully when you are moving through the exact right medium.
The text actually gives this a specific name. It defines it as the covenant medium. Basically, it's this living, co-authored substance that two distinct people make together. And inside this medium, each person is finally free to bear a body, keep a story, and reach a new horizon. A true partner doesn't own you. They don't absorb you into themselves. Instead, they provide the bright, breathable air where your whole self can finally operate without shame or fear.
Moving right along to Part 2, the six braided strands.
So how do we actually build this abstract, luminous medium in our daily, messy lives? Well, the text maps out exactly how this covenant is constructed across 6 specific domains of human life. On the tangible side, we have the body, where aging and physical vulnerability actually becomes safer to inhabit. We have the mind, where memory shifts from this private isolation into a shared, trusted context. Then we get into the deeper stuff, the heart, where moral alignment is held. The soul, where your true identity is witnessed. Suffering, which beautifully transforms from private torment into communicable pain. And finally, the horizon, that future destination two forces can reach together that neither could ever cross alone. Every single part of the human experience is accounted for here.
And this is where it gets incredibly cool. The text brilliantly illustrates the soul strand by applying a concept from cryptography, specifically the witness theorem. Think about digital security for a second. A digital signature proves a message is totally authentic without ever revealing the private password. The mutual information is literally zero. Well, Smith applies this beautifully to love. A true companion is a witness node. They see your patience at midnight, your devotion through the dullness, they verify your identity to the world. But they never steal your private key. They know you completely, but they own you not at all. It's identity being seen without ever being possessed.
Then, looking at the mind strand, a companion holds our continuous story. Left totally alone, a person can remember facts, sure, but a companion remembers the context. They hold the tone beneath the event. And crucially, the text notes this is memory as rescue, not surveillance. When you're having your absolute worst hour and you're insisting you're a total failure, your partner can pull up the external index of your life and say, hey, this is not all of you. They hold the map when your own navigation system goes down, which basically prevents you from disappearing from yourself.
Okay, Part 3, the reverence theorem.
Brace yourselves because this is the core mathematical metaphor of the thesis. We are literally looking at the math of devotion right now, and it is so revealing. This master equation shows that the covenant medium equals reverence multiplied by the sum of those 6 braided strands we just talked about: body, mind, heart, soul, suffering, and future. And from all of that, you subtract degradation. But here is the absolutely crucial part. Reverence, that R, acts as a multiplier. It doesn't just add a little bit to love, it scales the entire equation. And here is the stark mathematical reality of why that multiplier matters so much. If reverence vanishes, if you lose that fundamental respect for your partner, it genuinely does not matter how vast your shared memory is or how much suffering you've endured together. If R is 0, everything inside those brackets is completely annihilated. It all zeroes out. The only thing left in the equation is minus D, the subtraction of degradation. No amount of shared history can save a bond if reverence is gone. The way you hold each other matters mathematically more than how much you hold.
Which brings us to part 4, the covenant shift.
Let's move from this ideal mathematical proof to the gritty, everyday reality of long-term relationships. I want you to actively think about this. What actually happens when two hearts fall out of step? Because it happens to literally everyone. Vows are spoken, years pass, and sometimes, for a really demanding season, one partner's heart stays strong and present while the other's just kind of fades. So how does the covenant survive when that resonance is no longer mutual?
The author calls this asymmetric remanence and represents it with this fascinating equation. There's a term at the end, M1 minus M2, that represents this exact imbalance. It shows that when one heart stays pinned to the covenant while the other drifts, the faithful heart surplus alignment doesn't just waste itself. It actually enters the law of the bond and raises the effective strength for both of them. It's an awe-inspiring concept, really. As long as they don't completely decouple, a faithful heart surplus can hold the loop intact until both partners can turn together again. It is a demanding, holy proving ground.
However, I need to pause here because the source text demands absolute clarity on this point. This framework of carrying the load for a season, it's aspirational. Love will absolutely not excuse abuse, coercive control, active deception, untreated addiction, or unrepented contempt. In those places, the relationship is no longer a medium carrying life, it is solely carrying degradation. Smith is very clear that this mathematical framework should never, ever justify remaining in a toxic, destructive dynamic. Love is not the obligation to remain inside ruin.
Finally, part 5, tending the medium.
So, assuming we are in a healthy, albeit challenging bond, how do we actually fix it when things fray? The text offers these incredible, tangible steps to put into practice right now. First, name the medium together. Acknowledge that you are actively building an environment. Second, restore reverence first, because as we just saw with the math, nothing survives contempt. Third, rebuild the continuous story with healing memory. Fourth, and this is a big one, walk new cycles. Trust isn't restored just by talking and explaining things. It's restored by repetition and physically walking new cycles together. Fifth, protect each other's private keys, witness without invading. And finally, convert suffering into communicable information so it doesn't just curdle into bitterness.
I want to leave you with this really stunning, lingering thought from the epilogue of the text. You were never the missing half. You are the medium in which the whole self propagates. Just think about your own relationships for a second. What if we all stopped looking for the missing piece to complete us and stopped trying to be the missing piece for someone else? Instead, ask yourself, are you building a luminous medium? Are you creating that bright air where the person you love can finally breathe, move, and be entirely themselves? To discover the exact equations and frameworks to build that for yourself, you absolutely have to read Smith's incredible work. So, what kind of medium are you building today? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep tending the medium.